Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Sharron Engel, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network with a shout out to our listeners in radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Nevada, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Colorado, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California, Arlington, Virginia, and also seen on the AUN TV network. We are everywhere. And we just expanded in the Reno area. We are on KCKQ AM 1180 from 6 to 8 a.m. every morning. That's a real expansion to an everyday show now at KCKQ AM 1180 in Reno, Nevada. That broadcasts in all of the Reno, Sparks, Carson area. So our listeners can pick us up now from 6 to 8 a.m. in that area. My co-host today is Melissa Isaak. She is an attorney and she's also a veteran. Plus, she's active National Guard as well, I believe, and thinking about her own show for veterans. And I can't hardly wait, Melissa, till we have that piece here for the AUN TV network. So welcome. Welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Hey, Sharron, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you since last week. And of course, the news is just hopping. A lot of stuff going on. The world keeps turning, no matter if there's a COVID virus or not.
That's right. That's right. But there's some interesting things happening. I think people are just done with it. Done with it. I know in El Dorado, it's a small little town in the Sierra Nevadas. The lady has a restaurant up there. It's 35 people, but she says it's killing me. I've got to open. She went out on Facebook, opened up. 188 people came and ate breakfast with her Sunday morning just to support her. Some of them waited for 3 hours and came a distance of over 100 miles just to eat breakfast and say, you're right, it's time to open up. There's a fellow in Maine, he's opening up his brew pub. Churches are starting to open up and getting fined for opening up. So I think that the more that citizens are reacting to this and saying, we don't understand why our business has to suffer. We don't understand. We get it that there are people dying. We get it that this is something we need to be very careful of. But there are other things that we have to take into consideration. And one of them is I have to be able to make a living in order to support my family.
Yeah, absolutely. We have these executive orders going around saying that which businesses can be open, which businesses can't be open. And at this point, I'm even questioning some of the information that they're relying on in making these decisions. But, there was a Miss Shelley Luther in Texas, and she had a hair salon, and they were not supposed to open up their hair salons. Well, she has children. She had to put food on the table. She opened up her hair salon. She wore a mask. She had all the safeguards in place, the social distancing. Well, a judge put her in jail for 7 days. Interestingly enough, Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas, disagreed with the judge, and so does the governor. So they actually publicly came out in support of Ms. Luther, saying you need to release her immediately, because this is an overstep of not only the judicial branch, but really the executive branch too. So this is going to be interesting. The lawsuits are going to start coming out now because people are saying, wait a minute, so you're telling me that my business, I serve food, yet I have to close down, or I'll have a clothing shop, I have to close down, be at Walmart over there is making money hand over fist because they're selling food and they're selling clothing. So this is going to get interesting. It's just starting now to get interesting. And we have individual liberties. We have civil liberties. And like I said, especially some of the information that these governors are basing their shutdowns on, we're starting to look at now and say, wait a minute, now that's not correct. Look at the CDC numbers changed. So yeah, I'm glad to see that people are standing up and they're really flexing their American arms and saying, wait a minute now, I think you're overreaching.
So did she get out of jail?
She's not that I've seen yet. because everything is just developing right now. But yeah, the Attorney General and the governor said, this is far too much. You need to let her out of jail. I imagine she will get out, given the national attention and given the Attorney General is pretty strong. And for the Attorney General to go against the judiciary, they don't do that very often. So this Attorney General, really, I'm proud of him, has done the right thing and said, you need to let her out.
What happened to her children? I mean, there's so many questions here,
Right.
Is she a single mom? Is she a single mom who's taking care of the kids? Did CPS come in and take them? There's just so much in this. You say, oh, well, you're going to jail, but going to jail for someone who's the sole breadwinner of a family. And honestly, if she had to open up, if she felt that desperate to open up, there's more to this story than we're being told.
Absolutely. And I really think that as long as this has gone on and as much information as that we have, some of it conflicting information, our legislators ought to get together and say, okay, how do we protect people yet watch watch out for their liberties, for their freedoms? Because we have the executive branch over there just going rogue, just doing whatever they want to do, and the executive branch is sitting kind of quiet. But then the judicial branch to come in and say, you're going to jail for 7 days for violating an executive order when you've got bills to pay, when she practiced everything she's supposed to practice, all the safeguards were in place. No, that's wrong. I'm with the Attorney General and I'm with the governor on this one.
Well, and we have to note that this is an inconsistent policy. If she were living in South Dakota,
that's right,
Wyoming, no problem. She would have been working this whole time.
That's right.
If she had been in another business, counted essential,
that's
she
right.
would have been working this whole time. The inconsistency here and the lack of law. We're a country of the rule of law, and these executive orders, really? Most of them have a statute of limitation. I mean, you can't just be under an emergency order forever infinitum. Otherwise, they could suspend our Constitution and we never have it again, which is what it's looking like, isn't it?
Yeah, that is what it's looking like, because the governors are saying, well, we might have to extend this out 2 weeks, extend this out 2 more weeks. In the meantime, the citizens of that state are filing bankruptcy. They may lose their homes, their vehicles, their livelihood. People are dipping into their retirement accounts. And in the meantime, the government's just printing money. Apparently, money grows on trees, so we're going to deal with inflation down the road. But they're just digging their heels in to say, because of this coronavirus, well, no one is saying disregard the coronavirus. No one is saying that, but we have to be smart about it, and we are not going to hand over our individual liberties because someone else is afraid. So again, we look at the numbers. The CDC changed their numbers, which is odd. We have so many private practice doctors coming out saying, no, this is wrong. And it's going to be interesting, but I'm happy to see Americans standing up and being Americans. I love it.
I am too. I was beginning to think that we were going to just give up our civil rights willingly, easily, and let these rogue governments run over the top of us and over the top of the Constitution, more importantly. We are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Net Talk America, and AM/FM 24/7. I'm Sharron Engel here with my co-host, Melissa Isaak, and we'll be right back to tell you about our guests for today.
Mom, thank God you're going to be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free. and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm gonna call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, I'm so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling, the complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day and for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Sharron Engel here with my co-host, Melissa Isaak. And if you'd like to see a rebroadcast of our show, check out our website, ccrshow.com, ccrshow.com. Melissa, we've got 3 great guests today. Would you please tell our audience about them?
Yeah, we have Mr. Adam Hardage, and he's the CEO and co-founder of Remote Health Solutions, a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business that provides industry-leading telemedicine devices and remote medical services around the planet. And he wrote an article, and he talks about how up to much like 50% people are not going to emergency rooms and they're not going to urgent care because I think even though they have underlying health issues, they might have heart issues, diabetes, whatever it is, they're afraid of going into the doctor or the emergency room or urgent care because they don't want to catch the coronavirus. But his company, I'm interested to hear about it because they do telemedicine. I've heard of telemedicine, and I think, what I think of is people sitting across like you and I are having a conversation over the computer. So I know there's so much about telemedicine that I have no clue about. So it'll be interesting asking him about that. We also have Mr. Richard Morrison coming on, and he is a research fellow at the Competitive Enterprise Institute, where his work focuses on the relationship between economic and political freedom. And we're going to discuss a poll that NBC and the Wall Street Journal put out there that socialism is not so popular after all. Because what's scary to me is I hear a lot how these kids graduating high school, like 70% believe in socialism, and you have such a large percentage of the millennials that say, they're for socialism, they think socialism is a good thing. Well, I think those of us versed in what socialism is, and we've done our homework and done our reading, that's scary to us, because if you really see what goes on in these socialist countries, they don't have near the freedoms that we have. So be interesting to see how socialism is not as popular maybe as we think it is. And then we had our own Mr. George Landrith, and he's the president and CEO of Frontiers of Freedom, a public policy think tank devoted to promoting a strong national defense, free markets, individual liberty, and constitutionally limited governments. And he wrote an article titled America Must Defend Against Current Missile Threats. And even though we have to address the COVID-19, there are still, threats to our country that we can't just put them on hold. We just can't say, hey, look, we have some of our country that's not protected by our missile defense systems, but we can't deal with that right now because we got the COVID-19 going on. So we can't just disregard the threats that have been there and continue to be here. So I'm interested to talk to him about that and see what he has to say.
Well, it sounds like a great show. I know it will be. Our guests are, of course, the hallmark of this show. You and I, though, we talk about the things that are of interest to us. And so I hope they're of interest also to our listeners. I know I'm always scouring the headlines the days that I know that I have the radio show. And even during the week, my husband scours for me as well and says, did you know this? Did you know that? Some of the things that I think that even the alternative media aren't covering as well as I'd like them to cover. Maybe that's the thing. For instance, we know about this committee to draft Michelle Obama, and our good friend and guest, Dr. Gerard Lamaro, told us in January of 2019 that she would be the Democrat nominee. Well, she never came out and announced. In fact, she's been saying all along, no, I don't want to be, don't want to be, don't want to be, don't ask me, don't want to do that. And so we've gone through a plethora of left-leaning socialists on the Democrat side. We started out with 27 of them, and they pared it down to one guy who is a very flawed candidate, very flawed. We've talked about those flaws here on the show. We've talked about the problems with his mental health. We've talked about the problems with his treatment of women. It's hard for me not to say pervert, so I'm choosing my words carefully here. And this committee now has sprung up. It's started by a fellow out of Illinois, a very wealthy part of Illinois, who has a committee now to draft Michelle Obama as the vice presidential candidate. And lo and behold, now we have Michelle and Barack coming out. They just announced Tuesday that they will deliver speeches at a handful of virtual graduations this spring and summer to celebrate the millions of American students stuck at home because of the corona pandemic. The ex-president will kick off his family's commencement circuit with an afternoon speech at virtual graduation events for historically Black colleges and universities May 16th. So here he goes. They're off and running. They are going to be joined by LeBron James, Lady Gaga, Ben Platt, Malala Yousafzai, and many other celebrities. So this is going to be an extravaganza. Now that we can do it virtual, they're getting everybody involved, but it's a promotion of Barack and Michelle. And it's just coming right in line with those predictions that she's really is looking forward to being the next president.
Yeah, well, and she should think long and hard, because I don't think anybody can help Joe Biden get elected, because obviously that's what he wants to do, right? He wants Michelle Obama's running mate just so she can get votes, because look, he doesn't know where he is half the time. And I'm not kidding. I mean, literally, he doesn't know where he is half the time. So, I don't think he is, I don't think he's a strong candidate against Trump. I think nobody thinks he's a strong candidate, but he's all they've got. So that he has to try to strengthen it, where he can. So if Michelle Obama, I think she really wanted to be president, she might want to hold off, because that's a losing team. That's my opinion.
Well, I don't think she'll run as his running mate. I think she'll displace him. I think that when we get to convention, we'll see the flawed candidate kicked to the curb in favor of the strong candidate, and they will retire good old Joe to the nearest nursing home, probably. That's my prediction. It's a sad prediction, but just seeing what's going on with him, he can't. He just is having a difficult time functioning. We had a guest on saying that he was a few fries short of a Happy Meal. And I think he actually is the Happy Meal. For those who are watching, there's been, nothing, no lack of fun jokes for Joe's expense. The other thing about expenses here is, I was... the post office now is saying we just can't handle it. Everybody wants to vote by mail, and we can't handle the influx of voting by mail. It's just not something that we can do. We need more money. What do you think about that? I mean, I'm sure they can handle it. I mean, that's probably very true, but I don't know whether more money is going to fix that situation or not.
No, I mean, who doesn't need more money? First of all, I'm sure, but I've always wondered. People say, nobody writes letters anymore, so the post office just doesn't have money. But I've talked to several people, and I'll tell you what, I order more packages online than I ever have, than my grandmother ever did, obviously. And so, I'm not sure. I'd like to see the post office's revenue flow, because even though they're not sending letters, they're delivering more packages. But that said, I'm not a fan of mail voting anyway. But yeah, everything comes down to money. Of course, they have no money.
Well, and I'm hoping that this system that can handle the load will actually be the downfall of the vote by mail, because we know that is the problem when we come to a lot of fraudulent voting. It happens in that vote by mail arena. Yeah. So we are out of time for our little talk together today. We are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Net Talk America, and AM/FM 24/7. Now you can watch us on the AUN TV network in places like San Francisco, San Rafael, Marin, North Bay, San Jose, Silicon Valley, Santa Rosa, Redding, Sacramento, Chico, and soon to come to Reno, Carson City, and Lake Tahoe, Nevada. We will be right back after these messages with our first guest, Adam Hardage, who is the CEO and co-founder of Remote Health Solutions, a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business that provides industry-leading telemedicine devices and remote medical services around the planet. Adam's going to be talking to us about actually virtual medicine. It's the wave of the future, and we're excited to talk to him about that. So don't go away. We'll be right back after these messages.
Attention homeowners, do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half. or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition, as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Sharron Angle, here with my co-host, Melissa Isaak, and we're coming to you from the Conservative Commando Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet. And of course, we're also seen on the AUN television network in places like San Francisco, San Rafael, Marin, North Bay, San Jose, Silicon Valley, Santa Rosa, Redding, Sacramento, Chico, California, and soon in Reno, Lake Tahoe, and Carson City, Nevada. Melissa, we have our first guest ready. Would you please introduce him and make him feel welcome?
Yes, we have Mr. Adam Hardage with us, and he is the CEO and co-founder of Remote Health Solutions, a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business that provides industry-leading telemedicine devices and remote medical services around the planet. Remote Health Solutions primarily provides hardware, software, and service solutions for the U.S. Department of Defense and the chronically ill Medicare patient population. Previously, Mr. Hardage served as an officer with the U.S. Air Force, the U.S. Army National Guard, and the National Intelligence Community. His wartime service includes tours in Iraq, Afghanistan, and West Africa, as well as other operational service around the world. Adam, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate y'all taking the time.
Well, I'm in the National Guard right now, but a veteran myself, so certainly thank you for your service. And you've had some experience there. You got a lot of tours in Iraq, Afghanistan, West Africa, so you've got some stories to tell. I know.
I had a really great career. Awesome. It's funny now. I do the opposite thing. You know, before we used to break things and shoot things and stuff, and now. We try and patch people up and, help the most people that we can in the most places possible.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. Well, today we're going to talk to you about an article titled Emergency Rooms, Urgent Care See About 50% Fewer Patients Amid the Pandemic. So I read through this article, and tell us a little bit about it, because apparently people aren't seeking, emergency service anymore at hospitals.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those sad and interesting knock-on effects of this global pandemic, because it doesn't really stand to reason that medical professionals would be people that are going to get laid off, like doctors and nurses and things like that. But that's exactly what's happened. In fact, in my company, Remote Health Solutions, I personally have received probably 50 resumes, I'm guessing, in the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks from nurses, people with 20, 30 years of experience, from physicians even, who are saying, hey, I'm an ENT specialist, and so most of my stuff is elective. And so you're not going to necessarily go to the ear, nose, and throat person in the midst of a global pandemic, especially when everybody's been told to stay home. But the real problem comes with people who are not managing chronic illnesses because of the fear of catching coronavirus, or, and so if you take somebody who is type 2 diabetic, who has hypertension, who is maybe, let's say, obese and is elderly, and that person, doesn't manage their disease properly, that's a real problem. And I think we're going to see that as fallout from this pandemic, that those non-COVID diseases have progressed because people were not bothering to risk treatment, if you will.
So the same people who are most at risk, which are the people with secondary illnesses or maybe heart disease, like you brought up, diabetes, things like that, they're staying away from the emergency rooms because they're afraid of contracting coronavirus, but it's really exacerbating the illness that they already have. Is that right?
Yeah, it's really one of those very ironic sort of things. I think what ultimately you're going to see here is a complete shift in the way that medicine is done. I happen to run a telemedicine company. We have the technology, whether it's hardware, devices, cloud services, the actual clinicians on the back end, so doctors and nurses and things like that. We certainly have the tech and the people and the resources to support this. But the way that we see it, that what's going to be the reality is that telemedicine is definitely here to stay. It definitely has gotten a boost from this pandemic, but what people are seeing is only a very limited piece of that, and that's just a FaceTime or some sort of like we're having right now, Skype. Skype is great, but you can't do diagnostics with just a Skype. So whereas what we have, we can do live 12-lead EKGs and spirometry, and we could do remote intubations of patients. So where we really have seen the biggest benefit to date is supporting our military medics downrange. So a medic can be 10,000 miles away and need to have a live consult with a physician, let's say back at Fort Bragg in North Carolina, and using one of our hardware devices, what we call the virtual exam room, we can put them in touch like that. Conversely, on the commercial side, we see chronically ill Medicare patients. And so when coronavirus hit, it was just kind of a natural extension of what we already do, because we're helping chronically ill Medicare patients manage their disease profiles and their comorbidities that they already have. And now with coronavirus, we just apply the exact same principles with a slightly different problem set.
That is interesting. So, but that is really a shift for a lot of these patients who are going to these doctors, because you go in, I think there's comfort in the doctor being in the room with you. You could say, hey, look at this, listen to this. So how many people have expressed concerns about telemedicine? Are people accepting of this, or are they concerned about the quality of care?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So it's, for us, we found that it's, for the last 3 years that we've been in this game, it's as much an educational problem to get over as anything else. Because when you start talking, and especially before COVID-19, when you start talking about telemedicine, people immediately think Skype or FaceTime with my doctor. Well, and then we say, well, no, it's not quite like that. It's that, yes, but in addition to that, your doctor. So Seema Verma, the head of Medicare, last week had the greatest quote, and she said, telehealth is wonderful, but at the end of the day, a doctor still needs to listen to a patient's heart. And I about fell out of my chair laughing, because I said, well, that's exactly what we do. We have a digital stethoscope where 10,000 miles away from deep as dark as Africa, I can I can tell exactly, or not me, I'm not a doctor, I'm the business guy, but my physicians and my care teams can tell exactly what's going wrong with that patient, so that they can see him, they can do everything that they could do in a normal office visit, except for actually touch the patient. So when they're able to get complete diagnostic vital signs and all those additional specialty things, we're able to diagnose. In fact, our devices are FDA cleared that allow us to diagnose remotely. It's pretty amazing stuff. So why would you then want to waste the time, the gas, the waiting room, the second waiting room? I call them the big waiting room, the little waiting room, and then the final waiting room, as you're in the doctor's office, because we can cut all that out. And I think people are just gonna turn to that more and more. But I think the key is having the differentiator is that diagnostic piece, because otherwise, especially if you have somebody that has an actual complex disease, they need diagnostics. They need more than just a FaceTime. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does make sense. And you have now, they're saying doctors' offices, if you go inside, you have to be wearing a mask, but then you hear masks aren't effective, and then the N95 masks are saying they're not effective, and then there's doctors saying, look, if you know anything about microbiology, a mask is not effective anyway. Yeah. So is it people are staying away from the doctors' offices because they're scared of getting the COVID-19? Or is it they don't trust the masks, or they don't trust the facilities to just to stay clean and infection free, or what is it that's keeping people away?
That is a great question. I can't answer that. I can't speak for the population as a whole, but I can speak for my wife, who she says one of the things that she always says is, if you want to get your kids sick, take them to a hospital.
Right.
And it's sadly it just kind of is that way, but that's because it's the gathering place where everybody who has to get faced. So if we can, for us, so we started looking at coronavirus in early January. I mean, we're talking about maybe the first week of January, and we were saying there's really something that looks like quite serious to this. It's early, but we think that this is something that really is going to require a lot of resources and attention and everything else. And so as we were looking at that, and we started coming up with what we call our risk stratification profiles, our response protocols, all this stuff, just in case this thing ended up being a pandemic. And sure enough, it was. And we were jumping up and down all over Capitol Hill back in January, trying to raise awareness of this thing and bring it to lawmakers' attention. Say, hey, you guys got to get out in front of this thing now. And what we looked at was, with the coronavirus specifically, the name of the game, it's very obvious to everybody now, the name of the game was isolation and containment. So keep the patient out of the hospital if at all possible. So what we'll do is we'll send a medium risk or a low risk patient home with a telemedicine device, with diagnostic equipment. They'll check in twice a day with our nurse care team. They'll have a telemedicine visit with a doctor. We'll look at their vital signs. We'll see those trends over time, and we'll say, hey, this isn't sounding so good or looking so good. You need to maybe escalate your level of care beyond telemedicine.
Right.
And it's the same also for non-COVID. So keep you out of the hospital until you absolutely need to go in and have somebody. So somebody that's broken a leg, they need to see a doctor. You know, they need to get that bone set. They need to get the cast on. Somebody that's managing strep throat, they don't need to see a doctor, in my opinion. Again, I'm not a doctor. Don't hold me accountable for that. So.
Right. All right. Well, we're talking with Adam Hardage, and we have to take a break. And we're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, around the world and on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Net Talk America, and AM FM 24/7. And we'll be right back.
Are you a veteran and are you a homeowner? Then think Streamline and maybe save yourself a few $100s every month on your mortgage. A VA Streamline refinance. It's called a rate reduction loan because mortgage interest reduction is exactly what it does. It's just for veterans, and it lowers your mortgage rate so you can save on mortgage payments every month, every year. That's a lot of money saved. And it's so easy to qualify. You don't need pay stubs, a W-2, or bank statements. You don't need a home appraisal. confidential. It's fast and easy to apply, and mortgage interest rates are very low right now. So a VA Streamline Refinance makes it super easy and super affordable to take advantage of this opportunity and really cut your monthly mortgage payments. Veteran and homeowner? Call us to find out more. 888-893-7491. 888-893-7491.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Is your credit card debt driving you batty? We're going up! Just like your credit card fees and interest rates. To the top! With those sky-high payments! You can't forget about your debt. Always fear, the debt suckers are here! Are your payments sucking the life out of you? Just one call to Consolidated Credit can get the debt suckers off your back. Consolidated Credit will lower your interest rates, consolidate your bills into one easy payment, and get you out of debt fast. Call Consolidated Credit and get your life back.
Call 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213. That's 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213.
When debt is the problem, Consolidated Credit is the solution. Because debt sucks!
Attention Viagra and Cialis users. Are prescription drugstore prices too costly? Get 50 generic pills for only $99. That's right, 50 100 milligram generic Viagra for only $99. Our products have the same active ingredients as the brand name products. Money back guaranteed if you're 100% not satisfied. Get 50 generic pills for only $99. Order now and call the number on your screen. Have your credit card ready.
Welcome back everyone to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Sharron Angle here with my co-host Melissa Isaak. And if you'd like a rebroadcast of our show today, go to our website, ccrshow.com, ccrshow.com. We're talking with our guest, Adam Hardage, who is the CEO and co-founder of Remote Health Solutions, a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business that provides industry-leading telemedicine devices and remote medical services around the planet. Very good sentence there that really describes what you're doing. You know, I was reading an article and it was talking about people who have heart attacks. Well, we call them a heart attack out here in the non-medical world, and they're not getting those taken care of because they're afraid to go to the hospital. And this doctor said fast care is the key to survival. The relationship between opening the blocked artery causing the heart attack and the chance of dying is measured in minutes. And I know this by personal experience. My mother had a heart attack, and that's, you know, we just didn't get to it fast enough, didn't have the technology at the time to save her. But so what happens with something like that? That's definitely a hands-on. How do can you diagnose that and get them, you know, how can you save those minutes? What would you put into place? I call you and I say, Adam, here I am, I've got pains down my arm. I'm in, and I think I'm having a heart attack. What are you going to do for me there?
Well, first thing I'm going to do is probably put you in touch with our chief medical officer. I'm going to say, this is the time to now get the business guy out of the room and let Dr. Baugh handle this, or the rest of the care team. But in all seriousness, and by the way, I am sorry for your mother, for your loss. So if we have somebody that's presenting with something like that, the key technology that we have that allows us to, you asked the question of like, could we diagnose it? And the answer is yes, in real time. So a good example of this is I live out in the country. I'm about an hour out into the boonies, and so is our chief medical officer. He lives out, he doesn't live out in the country. He lives in very southern Utah, but they cover a very large rural population area. So for me, it could be an hour to get to a medical facility. For him, he has people that are being transported 2 and 3 hours. And a lot of the times they end up having heart attacks or apparent heart attacks. So the biggest thing that we can do is we can put a 12-lead EKG on a patient, and that streams live to our remote clinicians who can see that and diagnose it. And the reason why that's important is because normally they would bring in a patient like that into the ER, and then they would take time to process that patient in. They would have some kind of an examination. They would put an EKG on the patient, and then they would realize, oh boy, we need to get them over to the catheter lab. So in the heart attack, fight, they call it time is muscle. So if we can diagnose that when let's say the ambulance is still an hour out, and so the medics are there, they put a 12-lead EKG on the person and they're driving. Well, let's say it's only a level 3 center or something like that, and our doctor would say, hey, bypass that medical center, spool up the catheter lab over in this place, and send that patient straight in because they're having a heart attack right now. And so now you've been able to shorten the time. So we call it door to needle or door to balloon time, depending on if it's a stroke or a heart attack. So it's the same thing with stroke. We do remote stroke diagnostics and full PTA recommendations and all this other stuff. It's really an amazing piece of technology to be able to leverage the power of telemedicine, that diagnostic telemedicine, not just the FaceTime. Because if you're sitting here telling me that you think you might be having a heart attack, I have no idea, until we're able to get some diagnostics going. And that's that. We keep coming back to that one piece though, but it's that remote diagnostics that are going to be the thing that's the lifesaver in the future.
Okay, so here's another real life situation. I had a lump on my neck right here. It was about the size of a golf ball. Yeah. And I went down to urgent care. They sent me over to the hospital. I got an ultrasound. It took 2 weeks for the doctor to get back to me on the results of the ultrasound. But he did. I'm a Christian woman. I prayed through that. God has been healing it. You can see it's all gone. Anyway, he said, well, I don't know what it is. So you have to go back to the hospital and get an MRI. I'll get that order in for you. Right. That was 3 weeks ago. Yeah. I still haven't had my MRI, and praise God, he's a better physician. But it was amazing to me, and still is, how long it's taking to get these diagnostic tests scheduled and back to the doctor. And so when you're talking diagnostics, even those of us that have gone in for something, we're still seeing a lot of delay. How will your service help us with that piece, that we know we have to have a test, but we're not able to get in?
Well, and you raise a great question. And all these use cases that you're talking about are exactly the kind of things that we can help with. So in your case, how convenient would that be to be able to have a specialist who knows how to interpret ultrasound images, have them get on a live video virtual examination, and that specialist can watch your ultrasound being performed and see the images in color in real time. And so then they can say, oh, this is exactly what's happening on that patient. Because because that specialist who's maybe located in another state or something like that, they don't need to actually be the one to put their hands on and perform it. You can have a nurse or another qualified healthcare professional doing that. Now, the same thing is with stroke. So neurology is a specialty, right? Not many hospitals, or I should say not every hospital is going to have a neurologist, and certainly not every clinic. So when we have a situation which, like happened to me in 2011, I woke up one day in Afghanistan and I couldn't see. I could barely walk, and it was the strangest thing I've ever experienced. So anyway, I was escorted to the clinic in Kandahar. They thought that I had been blown up. They evacuated me to Bagram Air Force Base. And by the way, I knew I had not been blown up, but try convincing them that, right? So everything this day and age is you got PTSD and you got a brain injury, and that's it. Get out. So anyway, so I went up to Bagram. They said, yeah, you probably have some kind of TBI like that. Went back stateside. They misdiagnosed me with a brain tumor. And ultimately, then I went and saw a specialist down at home station who took one look at me, and he didn't touch me. He didn't do any exam. He just took one look at my patient presentation, and he said, "You're an MS patient." He's like, "We're going to have to do some additional testing." But he was like, "I bet my life on this. You have multiple sclerosis." And sure enough, he was right. Now, it's kind of one of those good news, bad news things, right? You know, it's like, hey, you're not going to die today of a brain tumor, but you got this lifelong chronic condition. Sorry, kid. But having this kind of technology back then could have saved all of that. Just like it can save with a stroke patient, somebody who's coming in and having that neurologist in another state be able to look at him and say, this guy's having a stroke. We need to do X, Y, and Z now.
We've been talking here with Adam Hardage on Conservative Commandos radio show. Adam, would you tell our listeners how they can friend you, follow you, connect with you, get more information about remote health solutions?
Great. Well, I would highly recommend you go to our website, which is rhsusa.com. That's rhsusa.com. You can Google us at Remote Health Solutions. You can follow us on YouTube, on Twitter, Instagram. All those social media links are right on our homepage on our website. Highly encourage people to reach out. We think we've got the solution for today and tomorrow. It's here right now. And we know that we're endorsed by Army Futures Command, and we have the strong support of the Pentagon's Joint Surgeon. So it's not like we're just an amateur hour type of a company. We're here, and if you need a real diagnostic tool that can work anywhere in the world, come talk to us.
Thank you so much, Adam Hardage, for being our guest here on Conservative Commandos radio show. Take care. God bless. We are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Net Talk America, AM, FM 24/7. And now, of course, you can watch us on the AUN TV network. We'll be right back after these messages with our
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Welcome back, listeners, to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Sharron Engel here with my co-host, Melissa Isaak. And we are going to give a shout out to those who are listening to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Nevada, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Colorado, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California, Arlington, Virginia, and of course, you can also watch us on the AUN TV network in Northern California. Melissa, our next guest is with us. Could you make him feel welcome and introduce him?
Yes, we have with us Mr. Richard Morrison, and Mr. Morrison is a research fellow at the Competitive Enterprise Institute, where his work focuses on the relationship between economic and political freedom. He was previously a senior editor at CEI and managing editor of the blog Open Market. Before rejoining CEI in 2014, he was manager of communications at the Tax Foundation, where he was also the host and producer of the weekly tax policy podcast. Prior to that, he served as CEI's director of media relations and director of new media between 1999 and 2010, during which he hosted the podcast Liberty Week. Richard, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Well, thank you so much. It's good to be here.
Good to have you. So we're going to be talking about an article, NBC Wall Street Journal poll, Socialism Not So Popular After All. So tell us about this article. Let's talk about how popular socialism is, or isn't.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting question. So we have decades now of these polls that measure obviously support for Democrats versus Republicans, or what who the president is at the time, who the leaders of Congress are at the time. And one of the questions that they usually ask in this battery of questions is are basic political orientation questions like, how do you feel about capitalism? How do you feel about socialism? So this is one from earlier this year by Public Opinion Strategies that came out. It was commissioned by NBC News and our friends at the Wall Street Journal. And it's very much in that vein of polls that have been done for a long time. And we see that when they asked about capitalism, how do you feel about that? It was about 1,000 registered voters. They said, 52% have a positive view, 52% have a positive view of capitalism, and only 18% have a negative view. So that's a plus, we call plus 34. And when you get down to socialism, only 19% had a positive view, and there was a 53 negative. So almost a perfect inversion, with socialism being 34 degrees underwater, as we say. So that was reassuring, but it comes at the same time, and a lot of commentators have been saying younger Americans are actually very pro-socialism. They're much more like, so this was everyone, all age cohorts of registered voters. But if you look at people between the ages of, say, 18 to 30, sometimes you have an outright majority of people saying that they think socialism is a great thing. So, when I was writing about this poll, I wanted to show that the broad-based polling results sort of push back on that there's not a huge groundswell of support for socialism. But even when you look at the to some extent alarming number of younger people who think they're in favor of socialism, my argument is that socialism is not what they think it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask you, is that let's define socialism, because if you ask someone who's just out of high school up to about age 30 what socialism is, sometimes you get the response, well, everybody gets medical care, everybody gets a house, everybody gets an education. So what's the definition in that age group of socialism?
Yeah, I think that they see the promises that some left-wing politicians make, whether it's our friend AOC in New York or Bernie Sanders or anyone else, and it's just a promise of free stuff. It's a promise of free education, it's a promise of free housing, it's a promise of job guarantees, of medical care, sort of everything under the sun, and there's no equivalent talk about the liberties and restrictions that come along with that. So, a classical economist would say that, the definition of socialism is a government, the state owning the means of production. So, the government owning, factories and shops and things like that, like in the old Soviet Union. But of course, there's ways to have socialist policies that aren't all the way to that extreme. The more government control you have over any of our key industries, the more socialist it is, the more in that direction it is. And, we have a very much a mixed economy in the United States today, just like all of our friends in the European countries across the Atlantic. We have some free market elements where people are allowed to invest and produce and sell how they would like to, but we also have an awful lot of government control. Goodness knows we have an awful lot of government control over education, including higher education, over healthcare, and things like that. So we're in this sort of awkward middle ground where anyone who would like to blame anything negative that's happening, they can say, oh, well, that's the free market that made that happen. Well, as it turns out, somewhere between a third and half of our economy is directly controlled by the government or, highly regulated by it. So I think it's just as easy to say it's poor planning and government regulation, which is causing a lot of the problems in our economy, especially the ones that cause young people to think they want a socialist answer. So, when it comes to affordability of higher education, kids, don't want to go, $200,000 in debt to get a bachelor's degree that may or may not pay off. A lot of that has to do with how government has managed and subsidized higher education, including the college loans that a lot of younger people are so upset about. Almost all of those are now held by the federal government.
Absolutely. So you say in the article that people want better outcomes for the big picture issues in their lives. So how do the younger people correlate the big picture outcomes to socialism? Because I think we who know better know that the better outcomes as far as opportunity is with a free market. But how does the younger crowd see the big picture issues in terms of socialism?
Well, I think you've had a lot of people writing about this in the past few years and pointing out that it's a generational thing. In part, people who are under 30 certainly don't have a lot of vivid memories of when the Soviet Union was around. When I was a Reagan Cold War kid, so I have pretty vivid memories of us confronting the Soviet Union. But people who are much younger than me don't, and so we don't have a really obvious, well-publicized alternative to compare it to. So a lot of left-leaning politicians will promise you the moon and the stars, and there's no obvious example of why that's not going to happen. So there's no more big Soviet Union. Most younger people, to the extent that they know about such things, probably don't think a country like Venezuela or North Korea is enough like the United States to even be a comparison, although it may be, that may be where socialism leads us if we go down that path. So there's sort of no counterfactual. You have left-leaning politicians making big promises, and there's no obvious way to point out that that's not how it's going to work. And a lot of the historical analogies are just a little too far in the past for people who are in their teens and 20s to have an emotional connection to.
Right. And how much of this comes down to semantics? Because you say in here that the word capitalism scored a 56% positive in the poll, but free enterprise brought home a 79% positive. So how much are we dealing with just semantics, and maybe the word capitalism just has a negative connotation attached to it?
I think that's exactly true, and especially because capitalism per se has been the word that a lot of socialists attack. Rather than going into any degree of detail about what those words mean, they'll talk about things like, they use the phrase peak capitalism or late capitalism, suggesting that, the farther you get along in a capitalist system, it somehow becomes worse and worse for people, and that we're, heading in that negative direction. And for whatever reason, the word capitalism doesn't have a lot of the positive associations that those other phrases, like you just mentioned, do have. And this is really the reason why I'm so optimistic about this, even when you have historically high percentages of young people saying that they like socialism. The real hardcore lefties, the real people who really are socialists, they have a view of society in which it's any sort of business is bad, any sort of employment is bad. Offering someone a job and paying them, well, that's capitalist exploitation, and you can't have that. They really do want the state, the federal government, the national government to have control over the means of production, to own all the factories and stores. So in that really hardcore, 5%, however many it is, they really do believe those things. But when we dig below just the word capitalism, like you said, we see that, if you ask people, do you like free enterprise? That's 79% of people like that. They ask them, do you like entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship? People starting their own business. They say 86% say they like that. When you ask them, how about small business? Just the phrase, small business, is that pretty good? 92%. That's astronomically high. There's virtually nothing in American life that has positive ratings that's even close to that. So what you see is that the overwhelming majority of Americans, even younger Americans, have underneath this, semantic discussion about socialism versus capitalism, they really do understand that work is good, having a business is good, selling products is good. And I don't think they're not subject to the real sort of, hardcore Marxist critique of American society, that it's terrible to ever be an employer, it's terrible to ever start a business, it's terrible to sell anything at a profit.
Okay. All right. Well, we are speaking with Richard Morrison. We have to take a break. We're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Net Talk America, and AM FM 24/7. And we'll be right back.
Mom, thank God you're gonna be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm gonna call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, I'm so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling, the complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day and for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Sharron Angle. I'm here with my co-host, Melissa Isaak. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of our show, go to our website, ccrshow.com, ccrshow.com. We're here with our guest, Richard Morrison, who is a research fellow at the Competitive Enterprise Institute. He's written a couple of articles that we've been talking to him about. The first one is NBC and Wall Street Journal poll, Socialism Not So Popular After All. And the second one is a new profile in capitalism, the Ariel Corporation CEO, Karen Wright. I wanted to follow up a little bit on the discussion you were having about the change. We see that everybody was really talking big talk about socialist, especially here in Nevada. Bernie Sanders won the primary. So, I mean, our millennials are gung-ho for this guy. So, do you think that the Wuhan coronavirus has had any effect on this poll, on how people are seeing small business? I mean, we're kind of looking right straight in the eyes of a Great Depression, and jobs now have become, it's not anymore a vacation, it's when can I go back to work? So tell me, has there been a reality check? Do you think this is something that has happened because of the pandemic?
Well, I think it's definitely shifted people's perspective on small businesses. It's made them, like I just mentioned, that there's generally very positive opinions about small business in America, but I think even people who work for small businesses sometimes, we all have the frustrations with our jobs. Maybe our supervisor is not our favorite person in the world, but we've seen that just because you own a business, it doesn't mean you're sitting on a giant pile of cash. There's some extent to which anyone who's a business owner who owns a company, even if it's a company of very modest proportions, is sort of mentally put in the they're a rich person category. And we see that a lot of the businesses around us in our community, especially the smaller ones, are very contingent on cash flow and normal operations. And some big disruption like this can, just snuff them out. So, we've seen with the CARES Act that Congress passed, they tried to support small businesses by supporting employees, which I think was a politically very smart thing to do. You want as many businesses as possible to be able to weather this downturn, especially when the government mandates that you be closed, which is a big difference. It's not just a recession. You are being ordered to be closed. And so we're trying to give businesses the ability to comply with that and stop the spread of the virus while not going completely out of business. But it was tied to keeping people employed. So where do we go from here? People are going to be very glad they have the jobs they do. And we've seen a lot of, spontaneous support for the businesses that are in people's communities. There are all sorts of restaurants that have had, GoFundMe charitable campaigns to help those unemployed, furloughed, temporarily unemployed, laid off people pay their bills. And this has been sort of one of my hobby horses when I talk about capitalism and why, capitalism is part of community and that it's not just, dog eat dog pursuit of profit, that small businesses are a big part of our communities. They're, where we take our kids to celebrate their birthday parties, and they're where we have our anniversary dinners and our Mother's Day specials, and they're really part of who we are, how we build community in our families. And so for the smaller businesses, I think that it's just really reinforced how important they are, when we are stuck in our apartments and our homes, and we, if we're a non-essential employee, we're not going to work. The places that we go that are businesses, they're for-profit enterprises, but they're also an important part of who we are, of our community, and how we live our lives.
Well, I know we're starting to see the big changes, I think, in our society as a whole. Normal now, we don't know what normal is going to be. And I think that it is shaking people up. I was just wondering how much of a shaking we were seeing in this group that have been, and this is my next question, the definitions. How much of that definition is coming from the left and the media rather than from what they've been taught or what they know?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it too. So the mainstream media has a left-wing tilt. Some of my conservative friends would say an extreme left-wing tilt. I think a lot of that is simply because of the people who become, reporters and editors at, publications, whether it's, NBC News or it's the New York Times or the Washington Post here where I'm in DC. A lot of people have studied this, just like when they study the political affiliations or the self-professed political beliefs of college professors. The same thing true with journalists. They're overwhelmingly more likely to be Democrats or to be liberals. And so I don't think that most of the time a journalist looks at a story and says, well, I know what the real truth is, but I'm going to change it so it's more lefty. I think they just have a left-wing orientation that they come by naturally. And so when it comes to who are they going to go to as a source, who are they going to go to, whose story do they want to tell, who do they think is sympathetic, they're obviously going to choose sources and topics that they think comport with their outlook. And that means that we have an overwhelming amount of energy dedicated to every negative story that comes out of corporate America. And we have very few stories that talk about how businesses build community and about how good things come out of successful business enterprises.
Well, I think you're very kind to say that is just an accident of ideology rather than a deliberate attempt to remake or change our culture. But we're out of time, and we need you to tell our listeners how they can friend you, follow you, connect with you, read your articles.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a great blog at the Competitive Enterprise Institute. You can see that at cei.org/blog. So you can always go to, always see CEI on the web at cei.org. I'm at Twitter at Richard Morrison. That's all one word together. And you can find me on LinkedIn as well. So.
Well, thank you so much, Richard Morrison, for being our guest here on Conservative Commandos Radio Show. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon, Melissa.
We are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Net Talk America, and AM/FM 24/7. Of course, now you can watch us on the AUN TV network in Northern California. I'm Sharron Angle here with my co-host, Melissa Isaak. We'll be right back after this break with our guest, none other than George Landrith.
Attention homeowners. Do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Welcome back, listeners, to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Sharron Engel here with my co-host, Melissa Isaak. And we are coming to you from our AUN TV network studios as well in San Francisco, San Rafael, Marin, North Bay, San Jose, Silicon Valley, Santa Rosa, Redding, Sacramento, Chico, and soon in Reno, Carson City, and Lake Tahoe, Nevada. Melissa, we have our next guest with us. Would you make him feel welcome?
Yes, we have with us Mr. George Landrith. He's the president and CEO of Frontiers of Freedom, a public policy think tank devoted to promoting a strong national defense, free markets, individual liberty, and constitutionally limited government. In 1994 and 1996, Landrith was the Republican candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives for Virginia's 5th Congressional District. His work has been printed across the nation, including in the Washington Times, Chicago Tribune, LA Daily News, National Review, Sacramento Bee, Fort Worth Star Telegram, Providence Journal, Daily Caller, Washington Examiner, Town Hall, and Human Events. George Landrith is also a co-host here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. George, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
It's great to be here. This is the place to be.
This is definitely the place to be. Now, you authored an article titled America Must Defend Against Current Missile Threats. Tell us about that article.
Absolutely. Well, part of my point of writing that is right now everyone's focused on the Chinese virus. And I understand that. I don't suggest that that's unimportant at all. But we have other risks for our nation as well. And one of those continues to be the risk of missile vulnerabilities. We have a number of adversaries who continue to develop and both essentially new nuclear technology, but also new missile technology, and we do have a missile defense system, but we really haven't done a lot to upgrade it recently, and it was kind of originally put together, if you will, to essentially stop a rogue actor from shooting a missile or two. But if somebody decided to shoot a real large volley of missiles at us, we'd be in trouble. They'd quickly overwhelm it because we didn't really build it for that. So while it's a very high-tech thing, it's great, it doesn't even cover the whole United States. So my point is the next step is to continue and build it out. You know, if you've built, it's like Monticello when Jefferson, he built a place for he and his new bride Martha to live, and then he built onto the house and it slowly expanded. You don't just stop because you've got a one room and a fireplace. And I would argue that's we need to make sure that we move forward.
I've always thought it was odd, for lack of a better word, that the general public, we have this knowledge of our missile defense systems. We know it doesn't cover the whole United States. Well, if we know that, our enemies know that as well. So can you really have a conversation with us on why that is? Why does everybody know that part of our country is vulnerable, yet we're still vulnerable?
Well, I think initially it was because we were defending against, when we built the system out, we were defending against places like North Korea and on that side. So we kind of protected the West Coast. And that was fine for a starting step. I think that, like anything, you start and you build a piece at a time probably. But they built that. It works. It's successful. But we've kind of slowed down in building out the rest of it. There's some conversations about building another battery, if you will, that would protect the rest of the United States. There's also the discussion of converting it to a mobile technology. And the value of that would be, and that wouldn't be that hard, but the value of it would be, obviously, if you wanted to make a strike on America, the first thing you might want to do is attack the thing that's defending it, right? If you're going to make a Mission Impossible movie, that's what you do, right? Guys would come in and find some way to disable this defensive unit. If you have at least one or two of them that are mobile and can be moved around the country and no one knows where they are, then all of a sudden that strategy is much harder. So I think there's some value in that. It also lets you move it to maybe a hot spot. Maybe we have, we, for example, witnessed it was the Iranians shooting missiles at our soldiers in the Middle East. And we didn't have anything in place to stop it. And so we basically just had to hide underground until it stopped. And of course, fortunately, President Trump used other means to let them know we wouldn't tolerate this. But had American soldiers been killed in that would have been too high a price to be paid. Not being critical of the president, I'm being critical of the fact that as a nation we've put on pause preparing for a missile attack. We should never put something like that on pause. And someone could say, oh, well, it's not a high risk. It's not like it's, my response would be, I don't think you or I dying this year is a high risk either, but chances are we both have life insurance. And the reason is when something, even if it's relatively unlikely to occur, if the cost to ourselves and our loved ones would be catastrophic, we insure against it. I don't know how much more catastrophic you can get than a missile attack.
Right. Right. And your article talks about the United States only has 44 interceptors. 44. We know there are So again, if we know where they are, then our enemies definitely know where they are.
Exactly.
But this is more of a political issue because, historically Republicans are more about a big, strong military, we're about national defense. If you look at the Obama administration, our military was really anemic by the end of his 8 years. So has Trump taken any steps in the last 3 years, to really amp up our military? Well, and more specifically, has he addressed these interceptors, the fact we only have 44?
Well, he has definitely ramped up in terms of providing more funding to the military. When he first got in, he ramped it up fairly significantly, trying to essentially solve the problem. It was, this is probably a dumb analogy, but imagine if you had a pen that you've been writing with for 10 years and you never refilled the ink, and now you're looking at it and you can see the ink's down to the very last nub. It won't keep working. And that's true with all kinds of things, whether it's planes or tanks. They have a defined lifetime. A plane can't fly for 100 years. They fly too fast, they pull too many G's, they'll eventually rip themselves apart. So they, bottom line is, we basically, we've been cashing in on quite frankly, a peace dividend for a long, long time. And as a result, we've kind of cut our commitment to military, really beginning when, at the end of or middle of George Herbert Walker Bush's presidency. We're talking about before Bill Clinton, in other words. And then, so the president did do something about that. The reality is the needs are probably so great that it still isn't enough. And again, I'm not trying to criticize him because at this point it's difficult to do. He was criticized for the increases he made. It would have been hard to get bigger increases through because Nancy Pelosi doesn't agree with them. So I think as a nation, we have to impose our will on Congress, not let Congress impose its will on us.
Right. Couldn't agree more. All right, we're speaking with George Landrith, and we're going to have to take a break. And we're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Net Talk America, and AM FM 24/7. And we'll be right back.
Are you a veteran and are you a homeowner? Then think Streamline and maybe save yourself a few $100s every month on your mortgage. A VA Streamline refinance. It's called a rate reduction loan because mortgage interest reduction is exactly what it does. It's just for veterans and it lowers your mortgage rate so you can save on mortgage payments every month, every year. That's a lot of money saved. And it's so easy to qualify. You don't need pay stubs, a W-2, or bank statements. You don't need a home appraisal. It's fast and easy to apply. And mortgage interest rates are very low right now. So a VA Streamline refinance makes it super easy and super affordable to take advantage of this opportunity and really cut your monthly mortgage payments. Veteran and homeowner? Call us to find out more. 888-893-7491. 888-893-7491.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Is your credit card debt driving you batty?
We're going up! Just like your credit card fees and interest rates. To the top! With those sky-high payments! You can't forget about your debt. Always fear! The debt suckers are here!
Are your payments sucking the life out of you? Just one call to Consolidated Credit can get the debt suckers off your back. Consolidated Credit will lower your interest rates, consolidate your bills into one easy payment, and get you out of debt fast. Call Consolidated Credit and get your life back.
Call 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213. That's 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213.
When debt is the problem, Consolidated Credit is the solution.
Because debt sucks!
Attention Viagra and Cialis users. Are prescription drugstore prices too costly? Get 50 generic pills for only $99. That's right, 50 100 milligram generic Viagra for only $99. Our products have the same active ingredients as the brand name products. Money back guaranteed if you're 100% not satisfied. Get 50 generic pills for only $99. Order now and call the number on your screen. Have your credit card ready.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Conservative Commandos radio show. And I'm Sharron Engel with my co-host, Melissa Isaak. We've been talking with our guest, George Landrith. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of this show, just check out our website, ccrshow.com. And George, we've been talking about your article. George is the president and CEO of Frontiers for Freedom. He's also a co-host here on Conservative Commandos radio show, which means he's been doing double and triple duty this week by being our guest here. But he's written a great article, America Must Defend Against Current Missile Threats. There's one little sentence here in your article. You said, we cannot afford to set our eyes so far in the future that we fail to see the now. You talk about how great our technology is and how great our research and development is, but we've got a gap between what's going on now and what we may have in the future. Talk about that gap a little more. I think that's where you were going with Melissa, but I want to drill down because you give us a couple of different things. You give us the Next Generation Interceptor, which that sounds like Star Wars to me. Those of us, the Reagan generation, we understand Star Wars. You also talk about the ground-based interceptor, which is only in two places, Alaska and California, interestingly enough. And then you were going on with a third one with Melissa. What keeps us from having all three employed right now?
Well, the reality is sometimes people think of these things as being overlapping or unnecessary duplication, but the reality is you have different missiles and different technologies for each. For example, the Patriot missile, which is a great anti-missile missile, is not really designed for ICBMs. It's designed for more regional threats, and so you have these different things. So the ground-based system that's in Fort Greely and also in California at Vandenberg is a ground-based system, and it's designed for ICBMs. The Next Generation Interceptor is also designed for ICBMs, and it's going to be the next one. It's, in other words, it's like you said, it's building upon what we have, and it's replacing what we have. The problem is the time that will likely come online leaves us with about probably a decade, maybe more, where we're just relying on what we currently have, and that's only 44 interceptors. And that makes me nervous because the world's a dangerous place now. It's not like it's getting dangerous, or it's not like in 10 years it will be dangerous. It's dangerous now. And we kind of did this once before, and I think it was a big mistake. We got rid of, and this was a different issue, but we got rid of the space shuttle. And then all of a sudden, we couldn't even take astronauts or supplies to the space station. So we had to pay $60 million a pop to get the Russians to do it for us. And they were and it's just like, I think that was foolish on our part. We should have basically, figured out a way to make space shuttle last a little longer until we had developed the replacement for space shuttle, that technology that would take us to and from the space station, as opposed to spending a decade to 15 years relying upon the Russians and their goodwill and so forth. And plus, I don't see any reason to be giving them that much money. So bottom line is, I don't want to see stuff with missile defense. I thought it was unwise with just the space station, which isn't really technically, it's the International Space Station. It's not really about our national security. But when it comes to our national security, that makes me very nervous. Let's not look so far into the future to what the next technology is that in a tight budget time, we rob the now to provide the future. Both are important. Missile defense, the next generation, I'm not speaking out against it. If someone says, do you support it? My answer is absolutely. But I also support making sure that we have a robust defense now. And I'm a little nervous about the plan that looks like, and again, this is the Pentagon, and I don't even blame them. They're struggling with budgetary issues. And they're trying to figure out how to get by on what they got and defend the country. And so this is one of the tough calls they've had to make. And my answer would be, if you had a loved one who's making a choice between eating and getting their insulin because they're diabetic, or you might say, let's figure out how we can solve this problem so you're not choosing between those two things. If you're choosing between HBO and insulin, fine, make that choice. But this is not HBO and insulin. This is kind of like, it's too important. And we ought not be putting our military in a position where we're forcing them to pick one or the other. We need both.
Well, we've seen with this Wuhan China virus that China has an agenda, and that agenda is world domination. I mean, that's their focal point is we want to, Xi Jinping, he wants to be the world ruler, and he wants to be the world ruler before his 30-year timeline is up. I think that's what he said. He wanted to do it in the next 30 years. Well, he's already in his 60s, so I think he's stepping up the program. And how does that agenda fall into what's going on here in your article? Because when you were talking to Melissa, all I could see was red flashing lights. We're vulnerable, we're vulnerable, we're vulnerable. And this guy is looking at that vulnerability.
No, you're exactly right. That's exactly the problem. Everything that China does, its industry, its businesses, its shipping, its lending is all done to lay traps for the West and to slowly enslave the left and make them our master. And quite frankly, they've been bragging about the fact that they're developing missile technology that they hope that will be able to evade our defenses and that they'll be able to strike us with. And I find that very interesting because I don't hear America talking about, oh yeah, we're developing this because we want to strike somebody. When we talk about developing a new military technology, it's always to defend our country against other risks. When was the last time you heard a president of the United States bragging about the fact that we've developed a missile that we would be able to attack China or Russia or the Soviet Union, and there's nothing they could do about it? We just won't do that because that's not our orientation. But that is China's orientation. And so we better wake up and recognize, and I think even with the Wuhan virus, what we know is they don't have our best interests at heart. And I'm not convinced, I don't believe that they actually seeded it as a weapon, but it's very clear to me that it got out and they lied through their teeth and they disadvantaged and harmed the rest of the world while they battened down the hatches to prepare themselves for the problem they knew was coming. Meanwhile, they're chuckling under their breath about everything that would go wrong in the rest of the world. So my point is, it's not some grand conspiracy. They just decided that there was something bad was going to happen. They had some responsibility for it, and they weren't going to own up to it, and they were not going to let anybody else know what was about to hit them. In fact, they lied so that we wouldn't know.
Well, I'm of that generation, that Cold War generation, and one of the big defenses we had was strength. I said, strength, peace through strength. That's how we get peace. That's actually how Israel is doing that right now with their neighbors. They're mostly in a self-defense mode, but they're so strong in the region that their neighbors know that if they do something silly, Israel will strike hard and probably cause lots of damage. And talk just a little bit about continuing that peace through strength. How does this all fit together?
Well, I think peace through strength makes lots of sense. I bet you if you check crime records, you'll find very few muggings occur in the parking lot of NFL practice facilities. Why? Because it doesn't make a lot of sense to go try and mug a guy who's 6'6" and weighs 300 pounds. Bad strategy. So peace through strength makes lots of sense. And I would argue if you like the idea of diplomacy, even our diplomats will be more effective when they are negotiating where we are strong. There's a reason why American diplomats get better results than, say, the diplomats from Venezuela or Lithuania. And it's because we are a world power economically and militarily. And so when we speak, people kind of have to listen. And so on every conceivable level, peace through strength is smart.
And we've been talking with our good friend, George Landrith, about America must defend against current missile threats. George, tell our audience how they can friend you, follow you, connect with you, read your articles.
Absolutely. Well, Frontiers of Freedom's website's easy. It's just ff.org. 2 F's like frontiersfreedom.org. And then my Twitter handle is very, very clever. It's G Landrith, Landrith, Glandrith. So those are probably the best two ways. But my stuff gets published in a lot of different places, but we usually put most everything I publish at ff.org with a link back to where it was published.
Well, and I'm going to say, if you want to hear more from George, just face to face, check us out on CCRshow.com. and also the AUNTVnetwork.com. George, thank you so much for being our guest here on Conservative Commandos radio show. Take care and God bless. And we are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Show Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Net Talk America, and AM/FM 24/7. I'm Sharron Engel here with my co-host, Melissa Isaak. We'll be right back with more.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to the secret war, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get the secret war free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The secret war is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Sharron Engel here with my co-host, Melissa Isaak. It's been such a pleasure, Melissa, always to be on the show with you. Could you tell people how they can follow you, and would you also thank our guests?
Yes. So I'm on Facebook, just Melissa Isaak, and I'm on Instagram, melissa.isaak. And on Twitter, I think just Melissa Isaak. So just Melissa Isaak all the way around. You can find me on social media. And we had three really wonderful guests today. We had Mr. Adam Hardage, and Mr. Adam Hardage is the CEO and co-founder of Remote Health Solutions, a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business that provides industry-leading telemedicine devices and remote medical services around the planet. I was really neat talking to him because I didn't realize how advanced this telemedicine has become, where they can take your blood pressure from hundreds of miles away. So, a lot of people think, well, I kind of need to be in there with the doctor. You really don't. Technology has really taken over. So it was an interesting conversation there that we had with Adam. We spoke with Mr. Richard Morrison, and he is a research fellow at the Competitive Enterprise Institute, where his work focuses on the relationship between economic and political freedom. And we talked about this poll that the NBC and the Wall Street Journal did on socialism. Well, socialism, we hear in the media, there's this big push for socialism. The millennials love socialism. And actually, between 18 and 30-year-olds, what he was saying, they are more fond of socialism. But really not so much. So you get into the semantics. They don't like the word, capitalism, but they like the word free market, and they love small businesses. So really what makes up capitalism is they love it, but the word itself has a negative connotation, apparently. But it was an interesting conversation. So, it was great talking to him, because I think that capitalism hopefully will be around for a little bit longer, or at least won't be as much of a fight to keep capitalism around. And we spoke with our own George Landrith. And George is the president and CEO of Frontiers of Freedom, a public policy think tank devoted to promoting a strong national defense, free markets, individual liberty, and constitutionally limited government. And we talked about his article, America Must Defend Against Current Missile Threats. And look, China is conducting secret and illegal nuclear weapons tests, and here we are, largely part of our country is unprotected. We know this, and they know this. So even though the coronavirus is important that we talk about it, we can't neglect other areas that deal with our national security. So it was great talking to George.
It was great to have all of our guests on, and I want to thank them as well for being here. If our listeners want to follow me, I'm at SharronEngel.com, SharronEngel.com. But for right now, we got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.
Hey everybody, coming to you from my little Zoom studio here, and you need to hear this, because you're being bombarded right now with these really over-the-top accusations against the president, that he's got blood on his hands, that his denial and delay has cost lives, and that basically he took no action until it was too late. The question is any of this true? All right, let's start back in January. January 15th, the first patient with coronavirus enters the United States from Wuhan. That was also the same day that these impeachment pens were being handed out. But luckily, the administration was on top of it. A couple of days later, January 17th, they were already implementing screenings at San Francisco, Los Angeles, and New York airports for flights coming in from Wuhan. But still, even about a week later, our mainstream media was still promoting things like this. Doctors saying, hey, this isn't a big deal, not much more dangerous than the flu. Nevertheless, President Trump did implement that travel restriction on January 31st, even though things like the World Health Organization were saying, no need to limit trade and movement, and they largely criticized President Trump's travel restrictions. Same day, January 31st, that Nancy Pelosi proposed the No Ban Act, which would actually stop President Trump from implementing the life-saving travel restrictions that he did implement. So was everybody else really sounding the alarm at this point in time? No, of course not. Headlines like these were being written, and constantly, and by mainstream outlets. Again, I don't blame them. These are the facts they had at the time. Adam Schiff, the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, was getting regular updates in that committee, but he didn't even publicly talk about coronavirus until February 25th. And let's not forget that President Trump did talk about the coronavirus in the State of the Union on February 4th. What happened to that State of the Union? That happened. So fast forward a couple of weeks when the president actually asked Congress for supplemental funding to combat the virus, $2.5 billion. What did Nancy Pelosi do? Instead of putting that money on the House floor to be voted on, she put a bill to ban flavored tobacco. That was the priority of the Speaker of the House. You also hear a lot of criticism for Trump being overly optimistic. But this is what Nancy Pelosi was saying in late February, telling people to go out and enjoy themselves for the Chinese New Year.
Come to Chinatown. Here we are.
Same with Bill de Blasio in New York City. I want to be clear, I'm not blaming them either. We all have the same set of facts. Even around the world, places like Italy and Spain and Iran, their cases didn't start to spike until early March. And even they didn't lock down. Italy didn't lock down until March 10th. Spain didn't lock down until March 14th. Iran, not until April 4th. Places like Sweden didn't lock down at all. As these countries locked down, were we just doing nothing? No, of course not. President Trump implemented travel restrictions from Europe on March 12th. And what did the media say? All of that. All of that. Widespread criticism. How could you do this? What's the point of this? Well, does this really sound like an administration that's in denial about this? Of course not. And a few days later, we implemented our own 15 days to slow the spread, which then turned into 30 more days. Okay, fine, say the critics, but what about the PPE? We were well behind. We should have had more in the national stockpile. Yeah, that's true. The USA Today did a fact check on this. As it turns out, most of our stockpile was depleted after the H1N1 virus. Okay? And the Obama administration never replenished it. That's the truth. Am I blaming them? No, not really. They don't have a crystal ball. What about the testing? We were behind on that. And that's President Trump's fault, right? Well, no, not so simple. Early on, the CDC started to develop a test, but China refused to give them actual samples of the virus, so it was harder to make a test. And also, they didn't do a great job of it. Also, long-standing FDA regulations prevented our private industry from actually developing tests. The Trump administration reversed those regulations that had been around for well over a decade. This is the main point here. If we're going to look back in time and try to suggest that our government should have shut everything down back in February, well, where's the evidence for that? We're really going to shut things down when our cases hadn't really started to increase? When it barely started to increase in places like Italy or Iran? Of course not. They didn't shut things down until way later. Do you really think that we should have lost tens of millions more of jobs and livelihoods based on almost no evidence at the time? Is that really a reasonable expectation? Is that really a reasonable accusation? No, I don't think so. Listen, I don't want to blame Democrats for this at all. I don't think we should. I don't think there's a lot of people to blame for this, except for China, of course. It would be time for all of us to give each other a little bit of grace and understand that at the local, state, and federal level, everybody is doing their best to fight the pandemic. And we're going to need to stop the dishonest finger pointing as we move into the next phase, where we figure out how to reopen our economy and fight the pandemic alongside that. Thanks for listening.
Mom, thank God you're going to be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free. And there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm going to call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling, the complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day, and for as little as $1.99 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.